fairly new, so we did take a little bit from other municipalities that we found, and then some general data center definitions online as well. So when going through and looking at the permitting process for each of these types of data centers, just your main primary data center that's allowed with a conditional use permit in the C5 zone district, and then it is a use by right in each of our industrial zone districts, and then they would also be required to get a change in use permit and a building permit as well. And then when looking at data centers as an accessory use, this would be they would be required to go through the special use permit process, which would go before the Board of Adjustment. And that would be within our A2 and A3 zone districts, and then each of our commercial zone districts and each of our industrial zone districts. And then again, the requirement of a change in use and building permit. So this, I just wanted to give you a visual. This is looking, again, at that accessory use. This is specifically at an oil and gas facility. The one on the left is just over 2,000 feet from any nearby residence. So some of the proposed performance standards that they would be required to meet is providing an emergency preparedness response plan, site plan and access plan, automatic shut-in capabilities, and then reviewing any off-site impacts as well. And then the one on the right, you can see this oil and gas site is actually within about 300 feet of a nearby residence. So they would have to provide some additional performance standards in addition to those mentioned on the left. They would also need to provide a noise impact assessment, have a neighborhood meeting, and then provide air quality monitoring as well. When looking at the criteria for text amendments, we look to see that it's consistent with the Adams County Comprehensive Plan. It's consistent with the purposes of these standards and regulations, and that it will also not be detrimental to the surrounding area. During the outreach and referral process, we did have multiple Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioner study sessions. Notice was sent to multiple agencies. Those include fire, oil, and gas operators, as well as other industry groups. We did hold 4 virtual stakeholder and public outreach meetings, as well as 1 in-person meeting here at the Government Center. We did have a survey that was generated to each of these agencies, and they provided a lot of good feedback that helped draft the proposed red lines. And then during the referral period, with those red lines, we did receive 5 public and stakeholder comments, and those were outlined within the packets. So this did go to Planning Commission to a public hearing on August 10th, 2023. That at that time it was continued. They raised concerns regarding the definition. At that time we did just have 1 definition for data centers, so they wanted more specifics regarding data centers, both again as that primary use versus accessory use, which I presented earlier. And then during the hearing they just requested more clarity on specific operations on those oil and gas sites, as well as what the size and scale would look like. So again, that was continued to September 28th. And at that hearing, Planning Commission voted to recommend approval by a vote of 4-3. And they listened to a lot of details regarding crypto mining, again, on specifically on oil and gas sites. And then they had some concerns with maybe the potential for redundancy with state regulations on oil and gas sites. So with that, staff is recommending approval. We feel that it's consistent with the comp plan and that it continuously is improving the county's development standards and permitting process to meet our community needs and goals, and that it would not be detrimental to the surrounding area. And again, recommending approval with 3 findings of fact and 1 condition. And here are the findings of fact and condition, and staff is available for questions. Thank you.
Any questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, we will go to the public. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on this particular text amendment? Okay, seeing none, back to the board for action or questions or discussion. I will say, I'll take a moment just to say I appreciate staff's work on this. This is a lot of work. It looks like you guys did a lot of research and did some tried to meet with folks out in the community for stakeholding, and to me it looks pretty good. And we find as we proceed on this process that we need to make some tweaks later, we can always do that. So I think that's another fair thing for us to acknowledge, is that we're trying to catch up on changes in the community, and sometimes that means we stay nimble when we need to. So
Chair, if I could, it appears that the system is lagging.
yep, we'll do this by voice.
Happy to do that by voice, Erica?
Yes.
Okay. I have a comment, and I'd be happy to make the motion unless my colleague would like to make a comment before we. Okay. All right. Thank you. This was a really long journey. There's a lot of technical components here. It is the intersection of a couple different types of technology and engineering and community impact. It seems that you have been very thorough and thoughtful in the approach, and I really appreciate it. I understand there's always a concern of having local regulations and state regulations. We have adapted before, we will continue to adapt, but having local regulations in place allows us to make sure to the best of our ability that we are protecting for all the reasons why we need to be taking care of our oil and gas sites for air quality and community and noise and all the different versions of community protection. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for also adding in data centers. I don't think we've seen the last of data centers. If anything, we'll see more. And this gives us a lot of food for thought and regulations to keep up with the times. And I really appreciate the thoughtful way this is put together and the extensive community outreach and stakeholder outreach that was done to put these regulations together. I heard about it a lot during the time frame in which this was under consideration, both from those who work in the crypto space and those who work in the oil and gas space. And I forwarded all those concerns to all of you, and you handled them very thoroughly. And I would be excited to make this motion so that we can have our first regulations in the space.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So thank you, staff, for this presentation. Something that's been looked at, this doesn't look quite like I had envisioned, and that's why we have staff, so that they cover all the bases, consider all the uses, all the land consideration. So I do appreciate it. It's something that's been asked for by our businesses, and I think that that's really important to state, is that, you know, Adams County, we're open for business, and this was partly a business driven initiative and considered not only business but economic development. It's our future, so it's very important to have this type of data center regulation on the books. I would just have a couple comments to make, and it's not because I'm advocating for it, but the oil and gas setbacks, it looks like one county is going to increase their setbacks. I'm not suggesting that we increase it in Adams, but I'm just stating that for the record. So I think if that time were to come, then that's something we consider at the time, but has not come to fruition just yet. So I fully support this. So if Commissioner Pincher, you want to make the motion, I'll second that.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So I move to approve PLN 2023-5 data center text amendments with 3 findings of fact and 1 condition.
And second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, aye. Any opposed? No one's opposed? Are you okay with that, or do you need to do the roll call?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, thank you. This passes. Thank you very much, staff. Moving on to the next one. Do you guys need time to set up, or are you good? Give you a minute.
Well, while they're fussing, I just have to compliment you once again. We do a lot of text amendments. This one was particularly complex. Thank you for really following through in the process.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Layla Bajlan. I'm a Senior Long Range Planner with the Community and Economic Development Department. And the case before you is PRC 2023-15. This is Horse Creek Retreat. And the subject parcels are located west of Imboden Road from East 152nd Avenue to East 160th Avenue. This request encompasses 8 total parcels that are about 288 acres in size. And this case is for a request for a comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use designation from agriculture large scale to residential low. And then also for a zoning map amendment to change the zoning district designation from agricultural 2 and agricultural 3 to agricultural 1. The applicant this morning has requested a continuance to be able to provide additional information at a later time. So staff, because of the applicant's request, is requesting a continuance on this case. However, we do have a full presentation available if you would like to.
Are there folks here for public comment on this one? I couldn't tell from the clerks.
So what we're going to do, thank you, before we take a comment on, or before we discuss or take any action on the continuation, What I'd like to do is make sure that people who did come, as Commissioner Pinter suggested, have an opportunity to speak on this matter. So do we have folks that are signed up to, does the applicant, first of all, want to say anything about the continuation? If not, we can wait. Please come on down and state your full name and address for the record.
Morning, Commissioners. Carl Barton, Kimley Horn and Associates, 380 Interlochen Crescent, Suite 100, Broomfield, Colorado. On behalf of the applicant, I would like to request a continuation of this case for the purposes of providing more information. We have recently been continuing to do our due diligence on the property, and one of those issues that we're very closely looking at is water. We have information that may have an impact on the future proposal, and we want to make sure that we present to this commission the most accurate understanding that we have and give the most accurate and best information. And for that, we'd like to request a continuation so that we're able to prepare that material. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. I think this group still believes in facts, so that's good. Is there anyone in the public who would like to please come forward? And the reason we say, please, let's go down the list of names first. And the reason why we're doing this is because some folks may not be able to come back in the future. Everything that is said here will be added and will be part of the public record, just in case you don't get to return for when we expect this to be continued. So go ahead, Erica.
The first person is Tiffany Neal.
Tiffany, please come on down and please state your full name and your address for the record.
Chair, can you also highlight that they can come back?
And absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, it doesn't mean you can't come back. It just means just in case you could say what you want here and still speak again.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. My name is Tiffany Neal. My address is 15175 Olmsted Street, Hudson, Colorado, 80642. I'm adjacent to the proposal, and I would like to ask that these be submitted to you for reviewing as part of just additional facts that I will. So I'll try to go fast. Obviously, I was going to say, please delay your vote today.
Mission accomplished.
We would like you to have the whole story and the relevant facts from the community members. The proposal to rezone from A3 and A2 to A1 will have a major impact on the existing neighborhoods. Ideally, after this, you will agree that rezoning some of these lots from A3 to A2 is a better solution for the existing neighborhood. I can only highlight my concerns in 3 minutes, hardly present a case to justify my request. As a homeowner and the VP to the Bromley Estates HOA, I speak for both. What is being proposed will affect hundreds of households. My additional content details out what I would like to include in the minutes today. What is missing and won't be shown is a beautiful flow between our existing rural properties and nature. This proposal is in direct opposition with the existing rural area, instead places a suburban neighborhood 10 miles from the nearest city. Additionally, this proposal is disingenuous to what is ratified over a year ago by you in the Advancing Adams Comprehensive Plan. It needs to be noted that the posted signs by the county were two poorly placed small signs on the corner of a very low trafficked road out of view from the vast majority of affected parties, and this signage is no larger than two small political yard signs. I urge you to consider your constituents and the effect that these changes have on our community. And may I point out that our comments have gone unaddressed, our requests have been ignored, and we are not fairly represented in the presentation you would have seen today. Some key concerns about what is missing and things that were presented at the Planning Commission is that this violates at least 6 Advancing Adams comp plan points, including COH 1.1, 1.1.01, and 3.1, Natural Resource and Environment 1.1, 2.1, 2.1.2, all built environment and connection policies, and all policies that support the agriculture part of cultural history in 1.1. Although I would love for you to reject this, and I want to be a good neighbor. We are open to working with the county, the developer, and interested parties. In closing, if I had the power to change what you're voting on today, I'd ask you to change it to an A2. I will just highlight in there that on page 6 of the packet I provided you is a memo that is unknown to most. It is a memo that has greatly impacted my property and the 48 residents who were granted water rights at Bromley Estates to the upper and lower Arapahoe aquifers. I highlighted this section. I apologize, the writing is terrible. It is Very hard to read, and there are specific codes to which only the Department of Resources will understand. But I did have them decode it for me a year and a half ago when I found out that there is no water within 2 miles readily accessible in the aquifers in which these folks are trying to drill 48 wells.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up,
Karen Geisler.
Geisler. Please come on down, state your full name and your address for the record.
My name is Karen Giesler, 15990 in Bowden Road. I am directly across from the proposed area. She said basically what all our neighbors have been feeling, that this is not an appropriate section of, for what we have. They're trying to pretend that, oh yeah, we're improving your neighborhood. No. There have been 3 new homes been built on 152nd and in Bowden that are on 35 acres or more. These are beautiful homes. I'm sure that nobody in the area objects to them. The newest home being built is on Watkins, North Watkins in 160th. It is an absolutely gorgeous home, big and beautiful. Nobody objects to that. We do object to the small lots. We are asking that they be over 10 acres, which in your study would be, I guess, an A2. I'm not well studied in that. What I do know is that I have lived there since 2006. The water that they have talked about, she says that there's not enough water. I don't honestly know about the water. We have pressure. My problem is the water is not good. I last night took a testing of the TDSs from the water, and it was over 700 units. Now drinking water is only, the very worst drinking water is 500. I had to put in a filtration system in my home, a very extensive filtration system. I am the only person, most of the people are on a community well. I am on a private well right across from their place. I had to put in an extensive water system to make my water drinkable. And I was not told. We have to, in the system that we have, which was put in by a guy that put in a system for the Pepsi Cola people, that our water still is bad. We have to change filters on our water system monthly, and it comes out crummy and bad. I do have others. So there is water, I presume, for farming, but not for drinking. And this wells, for everybody's wells, they wouldn't know that they're coming into bad water unless they were told. I only have 23 seconds. Putting this in the middle of what we have is not appropriate for our neighborhood. We have good neighbors that we are. Smallest lots, 10 acres, 11 acres. I over 11 acres on my lot, and I back up to Farmers Gun Club. I back up to Horse Creek Reservoir. I have beautiful places around me, but don't take away my country. You know, I'm there to retire in a country atmosphere. These people they don't exist yet. They can pick out other neighborhoods, you know, to go if they want little lots. But let's remain a country.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Stan Giesler.
Stan Giesler, would you like to speak? Already spoke, okay. Next up,
That was everyone.
is there anyone else that did not sign up but would still like to come on down? Feel free to come down. State your full name and your address for the record.
My name's Kurt Lackey. I live at 15770 Imboden Road, directly center of this area. I have a gorgeous view. Sorry about being a little emotional today. It's my dad's 90th birthday, but he died 45 years ago. He got killed in a fire call. He was a Sheridan fireman. He would be 90 today. We recently had a fire at our house. The fireman came. Our garage was fully engulfed. We almost lost the whole house because the fire department ran out of water. If you have something like this built in a neighborhood, you drop 2 city blocks in the middle of a rural neighborhood and try to go with the fire department that has 2 people on duty with the fire truck. It took them 8 minutes to get there. Thank God 2 other companies from Hudson and Keensburg showed up with water, or my whole house would have gone down. This whole section here was done on dry farming for 20 years. This is one reason that they ended up selling it. They had another section that they did not sell, that they have water wells on, that they can still grow stuff. This was a area that they needed to get rid of or go broke. The appearance of the sugar-coated egregious way that they've shown this as our neighborhoods next to each other. Our houses are 1/8 to 1/4 mile apart from each other in this area. They're not right next to each other. They're not like they show in the picture. There's nothing even close to what they show in the picture. We have an awesome view of the mountains, and it would be totally covered. The appearance of what that is across the road, normally during the fall, when the lake is full, we'll get, I'd say, over 2,000 to 20,000 geese sitting out there in the field. We have over 24 deer that run across our backyard 2 or 3 times a week. We have 6 eagles that live in the trees right behind us. We have more owls than I could count. We have thousands of geese on the lake all the time. There's a few hundred pelicans always around.